Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. Live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning, coming to you from the International Diamond Center Studios, locations across the state of Florida, right there in Celebration Point, in the heart of Gator Nation. And if you need your heater, because it's getting cold, folks, fixed, call Comfort Temp Heating and Air. It's your number one local HVAC company. Visit them at comforttemp.com. Today's show, we'll have JC. We'll also have Mike Morgan. We'll discuss a little college football. JC, you're on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. What's going on?
Well, QB, it feels great outside. I've really been happy with the quiet hurricane season thus far. I mean, they've stayed offshore, so that's really been pleasant. And I really love October. I think some of the biggest things that I took from the weekend, and I'll get to the Florida game in a moment, but I was impressed with a couple things. I saw Alabama coming off that Georgia-Vandy game, snapping Missouri's 15-game home winning streak and holding the nation's leading rusher, Ahmad Hardy, to 52 yards. And I felt like that was an impressive showing, even though they only won by 3. They were up by 10 in the fourth quarter. And Missouri's a very live team. They're very good. I think their coach has really done great things at that program. And how about Jerry Neuheisel? Speaking of coaches, QB, Jerry Neuheisel at UCLA, brother. 38 points at Michigan State. They've come back now and scored somewhere like 80 points in the last 2 weeks. They couldn't get a first down with Deshaun Foster figuring out things, and they're 2-0 since they let him go. Indiana has to be the story, though, in the Big Ten. I know Ohio State is Ohio State, but Indiana, number 3 now in the AP poll. That's their highest ranking ever. And Kirk Cignetti's done this in less than 2 years. Less than 2 years. Maybe these guys, Florida State also faked everybody out, it seems like, QB. I mean, maybe Alabama faked everybody out. I don't know. They're 3-3 now.
They're not very good, but we had a text that came in on the Titan More text line.
Lost to Pitt at home.
Yeah, which this is from Frank in Chicago. He says, "Thanks, QB, for your Pitt pick. I had Pitt on the money line.
Wow.
But thankfully, I didn't go with your Illinois pick. Yeah, I'm telling you right now.
Yeah,
I gave y'all inside scoop on this show the other day that Pitt has a stud at quarterback, true freshman.
Okay. All right. I'm glad we found it took us 7 weeks to find out about your Pitt team. Okay, QB.
No, because the kid has not played, JC. They benched their Eli Holstein, who they were paying over $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And they started the kid last week. I talked about it on this show.
You did? Not to me, man.
Well, I talked to a bunch of people on this show about it because he threw for over 400 yards against Boston College.
Yeah.
And then he did what he did against Florida State. He's a special player, man.
So what you're saying is that Pittsburgh made a tough decision and it worked out for them. They don't seem to want to do that around
the young offensive coordinator finally convinced his head coach that who cares about what they're paying the guy? We need to play the best player.
What a concept. I wonder why we haven't seen some of that around here lately. But hey, QB, USF 5-1. They beat that Memphis team. I know we talked about it the other day, or they're going to play that Memphis team in 2 weeks. They beat the North Texas team. This team is a real live group of 5 qualifier for the playoffs. They have road games at Memphis and road games at Navy, and that's in November, the Navy game. And that's a very competitive conference, that league conference. I think it's called Conference USA. But either way, USF is 5-1, and I was surprised that they handled their business the way they did. But some good games over the weekend. The Georgia game really blew my mind when, you have Auburn up 10-0 at home. Crowd is in a frenzy. All you need to do is just get in the end zone from the half-yard line, and the kid fumbled the ball. Did you see that play?
I've not seen it. I've seen all the discussions about it.
What have you heard? I mean,
I heard he scored, but they gave it to Georgia.
They gave it to Georgia, and Georgia went on from there to
apparently it was a bad call. We had a bad call that went our way Vernell Brown did not catch that one ball. That ball bounced off the ground. I was shocked they gave that. So there were some blunders by the officiating crew in the Southeastern Conference.
That's
No
not
question.
the first time that's happened. It's not the first time that's happened. There was a
But what's
controversy.
crazy though, JC,
Yeah,
it's the first time I can remember after watching reviews on the big screen and on the
right.
TV.
Well, and they had a controversial call at Missouri too, on a fourth down play where the kid ran out of bounds and stretched with what the Missouri folks thought would be a first down. The officials ruled that he was down before that. Alabama took over the ball and held on to win that game. Alabama, Tennessee coming up this weekend in Tuscaloosa. Florida's getting the 4:15 slot in the on the SEC network against Mississippi State at homecoming. At 2-4, I know people are excited about homecoming, but honestly, you're looking at 6 or 7 losses again. Here we go. And I just think that, it'll be nice to get out there, but it's amazing how the misery index here went from really coming down to going right back up again. And we all knew he's on thin ice. We all know that.
Well, you were excited last week. I was not excited.
You were not. Well, I don't know how you can't be if you have blood flowing through your veins when you beat Texas, but Oklahoma can't do it. Obviously, Oklahoma cannot do it. And Oklahoma has not.
I was going on the history, JC, that we would not play well on the road. We've only won good games at home. I mean, that's a fact.
That is a fact.
We've won a couple of big games each year on the road. Look, we got a million questions on here regarding let me just read a couple of them. I'll read a Titan and Mark.
You got a million of them. Pick some there, QB. You said you had a million questions.
John from the Panhandle says, QB, with James Franklin being fired and no longer having a buyout, I believe he becomes very enticing to the UF administration. It's very long. I will go ahead and put an end to that. He ain't going to be hired here.
QB, who's in charge of hiring the next coach?
There's going to be there's like a committee, board, whatever.
So you feel confident about a board of people sitting in a room knowing what they're doing?
They'll look. I will tell you right now. Here's the 3 people, in my opinion, that are on the list, and these are the only people that will have a chance to be the next Gator coach.
Okay.
Lane Kiffin, Kurt Cignetti, and Eli Drinkwitz. One of those 3 will be your next coach.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
Lost the okay, Cody's all over me. I get it.
What's he all over you for?
My lead pipe lock. Well, my best bet was Oklahoma. I actually made that bet assuming Mateer would not play. He clearly wasn't ready to go. And I think Texas has to be given some credit, but I thought Oklahoma would beat them. And that was I was dead wrong about that. But why wouldn't I think that after seeing what I saw here in Gainesville with their offensive line at Texas? I was very surprised that they beat Oklahoma.
Rick from Jupiter on the Titan Mart text line. Hey, QB, nothing left to see. No miracle run. There's never going to be a miracle run. I don't know what Kool-Aid y'all were drinking. Time to move on. Also, speaking of moving on, by Chip Howard. And speaking of Chip, is Napier allergic of helping his tackles with a quick tight end chip?
What was that about Chip Howard?
They let Chip Howard go. I'm telling you, there's a huge there's a lot of stuff that will be happening.
A purge. I think it's a purge. I think 17 years after your last championship, something has to change. I guess it has to take 17 years for them to figure that out over there. But whatever. They had a couple good years in between. But yeah, I just think it comes from the top down, QB. I think the incompetence of the last 2 hires, even though Mullen wasn't that bad, I think, record wise. But I think it shows you cannot let this guy pick the next coach. Now, you just left the pool down to 3 coaches. What if all 3 of those coaches say thanks, but no thanks? Then
or not. One of them will take it. One of those 3 will take it.
What if those 3 do not take it is my question.
I'm very confident that one of them will. Mike says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plum. Shane, JC, how did that trashy Texas offensive line play against OU?
Yeah.
They obviously played better.
Shocked me.
I can tell you right now.
Shocked me.
So Mike likes to take shots at us, which is perfectly fine. But there's this.
Mike didn't have
watch game day.
Game either.
I don't watch game day, but it happened to be on in my hotel room Saturday morning.
Okay.
And there was some guy on there named Nick Saban said he is not backing the Texas Longhorns because of their awful offensive line play. So,
well, what does he know? What is that guy?
So I think Nick Saban's eyes saw the same thing my eyes have seen all year long.
Yeah, I think he can He can judge talent. Look,
Yeah.
Texas played awful against Florida. Whatever it takes, though, they seem to get up for Oklahoma, right? It's that border war.
Yeah, but Mateer played too. I mean, he threw 3 interceptions.
Yeah,
and
he
one
wasn't ready to
return.
play. They rushed him back. He should have played.
I mean, on the punt return for a touchdown, there was clearly 2 blocks in the back. They didn't.
Yeah,
call.
there were. That didn't change the outcome of the game, though. But you're right. Listen, he wasn't ready to play. They were desperate. I don't know why they felt so desperate about it. And now I know why Texas was favored on the opening line, because they thought the backup would play. I don't think the backup would have been any worse. But listen, it's a very heated rivalry. It's a different game for Texas than playing at Florida. And that Florida team is very hard to figure out.
Shooter McGavin says on YouTube, brought to you by Co-op, how hard is it to make in-game adjustments? Whose job is it to make that change? All the coaches, all your assistant coaches and coordinators and everybody, you make adjustments. It's not hard. I mean, it just depends on your philosophy. Some coaches will make adjustments by just making up new plays that you never practice. Some coaches I'm not going to call anything we haven't practiced. Here's what happened in that game, in my opinion, whether it's right or wrong, what I saw. Okay. A&M came out and played man coverage bump, 1 high safety the first series, and all we threw were back shoulder throws. That's like playing in your backyard, right?
Yeah.
They struggled. We were picking on this Hicks DB that they had.
Yeah.
After that, they started just playing 2 high zone, like 2 high looks, zone and a little 2-man, but that allows more defenders to drop in zone coverage, and we have trouble against zone coverage. We've been talking about it for how many years on this program?
Yeah.
So there. And we couldn't block them. Let me tell you something.
No.
I will tell you
so
this.
strange.
A&M to me is right there with Miami as one of the best teams I've seen in person.
Okay.
Because their defense, this stat still blows me away. I think it's the greatest of all time through 3 games. I think Alabama back about 10 or 12 years ago did this. But the third down conversion rate in 3 straight games is 2 of 33 or 2 of 34.
Yeah, that's impressive.
That's 6. It was 6%, whatever it is. That is incredible.
That is incredible, and I think it's incredible that Notre Dame scored as many points as they did on Texas A&M. But I think that Texas A&M is, along with Mississippi and Alabama, you have the 3 undefeated teams in the SEC. Doesn't mean it'll stay that way. There's a long way to go. There's 6 games left. So, Texas A&M needs to go on the road in the league now, and they're going to, and we'll see how that works out.
And that's right. I mean, it's playing road games is so much different than playing home games. There's 100%. No question.
That's why
you can look at our team, how we play at home compared to playing on the road.
It's a big difference. And that's why I said, between those other, the Indiana team that went to Oregon, and Pitt going to Florida State, Alabama going to Missouri, UCLA going to Michigan State, those were all road winners, and it doesn't happen that often. That's why it stood out to me this weekend. And Ohio State really, the thing with the Big Ten, the problem they have is that one team has all of the players, it feels like. But Indiana, to me, does feel different this year. And
their quarterback is really good.
And I think that starts from there, right? It starts from there. And you have to say to that coach, listen, you are unbelievable with what you've done, even though your schedule's been really soft. That game at Oregon was his biggest win at that school. And so he's not leaving Indiana. I'm sorry. He's not. He's building something there. He's 65 years old. I see no way in hell Florida should be calling him just because he's doing well at Indiana in the Big Ten, playing a soft schedule. I'm not taking anything away from him, but it's nothing compared to what we see down here, even though they would like to tell you that. So I think Indiana is a great story. They're ranked number 3 in the country. Just enjoy it. But he's not leaving. Not anytime soon. And if they win something big there, he's damn sure not leaving. They won't let him leave. We'll see.
MSRK said.
So that brings your list down to 2, by the way. Okay, so we're scratching Signetti off.
Why you scratching him off? You think he wants to stay at Indiana?
Yeah, I do. I think he does. Yeah, 65. Why wouldn't he?
Because he likes to win. He says, Google me, I win.
Well, he's doing it at Indiana.
Right. He says MSRK says Ole Miss didn't look good against bad Washington State team. No,
look ahead week.
Because they played Georgia this week. You could kind of feel it. Did you see Lane's comments about the student section?
What did he say about the students?
He said what was it? He said our red zone offense showed up about like our student section.
Was it an early game or an afternoon game?
It was a 11:45 game.
Yeah, well, I mean, come on.
But still, you're the number 4 team in America, JC. I don't blame you.
Yeah. No, that's true. It's true. The big game coming up this week. We'll find out about them this week. I mean, Georgia to me is good, but that's not the Georgia team that won the national title. Not in any way, shape, or form. But they're very good.
Yeah, Manuel says he predicts Cignetti to Penn State.
Well, now I see that being possible, but again, he's 65 years old. If he does something amazing in Indiana, why would you leave? Why would you leave? Because, you can win anywhere in America, QB, in today's college football environment. You know that as well as I do. And I don't know why you have to change something when you're doing so well. The problem here is that they're not willing to change anything, and they've done so poorly.
JC, that's all in the past.
That's all in the past.
There will be changes, trust me.
I'm sure.
This is a text on the Titan Lamar text line. It says, QB, I know you gave your top 3. It's not my top 3. I mean, I like those 3 choices, but that's what I'm hearing, people. He says, but Buddy says his big money guys are going after Urban.
Oh, please, this Urban. God, you cannot turn the page here, Florida. Does everybody forget what happened at the end of Urban Meyer's tenure here at Florida and why he left? Buddy would educate us all, I'm sure. But the thing is that I don't want Urban Meyer back here. I wouldn't want him back. Yeah. I think he won. He did great with Ron Zook's players in 06. And yes, he had Tim Tebow in 08. That's it. After that, it was miserable. It was drama. It was soap operas. It was just this, that, and the other. What's he doing next? Where are these players at 2:00 in the morning? I have a friend who lives close to Percy Harvin. He says Percy never smiles. Walks out of the house, pick up the paper, whatever he is doing outside, he's always frowning. I don't know, man. That group was crazy back then. And without Tim Tebow to keep everybody somewhat stabilized, who knows what would have happened with those players. But I applaud the success he had, but everybody's forgetting what happened in 05, 07, 09, and 2010. They beat Cincinnati Sugar Bowl, I think, something like that. Whatever. I think you got to move on, man. And I think Urban has done his deal. He's won 3 natties, and I don't know why he would leave his gig right now.
Yeah, JC, are you one of these guys? If you were in, hiring coaches, people talk, we need a guy who has a winning record or has won and all that kind of stuff.
Look,
the reason I'm bringing that up is because some of the word out there, Penn State is going to go after Matt Rule.
Matt Rule.
Okay? Matt Rule's a great guy to go turn your program around from really bad to getting to bowl wins and stuff. But if you look at his record, he's never won anything. Well, he hasn't even I don't even know if he has a winning record as a head coach.
Right. And you say QB, there are very few guys out there that are that.
Right. So my point is you don't hire Matt Rule to fire a guy like James Franklin, in my opinion.
I don't see what
I would take James Franklin every day, all day before I'd take Matt Rule.
I don't see what the upgrade is there. I think with Penn State, if we're going to just take a minute to talk about James Franklin, it's not about his record. His record was fine. It was about where did they end up when it came to championships? And the answer is a big fat 0. And that's what they hired him for. So they're going to give him $50 or some odd million to leave town. Okay. Another example of asinine contractual obligations. But they didn't hire him to win 11 games. They hired him to win the Big Ten and win the national championship. That's what they hired him for.
So somebody just sent me a text saying the Vegas odds have Manny Diaz as the favorite to Penn State.
Wow.
Like I said,
I don't know what your upgrade there is either. But then again, QB, who is out there? You
No, I mean, I would say if I'm the athletic director, and obviously they've had two horrible losses, right? UCLA and Northwestern. You can't lose those teams.
That's right.
But I'm not going to sit here and go, I'm going to fire him when I know I'm not getting Kurt Cignetti or somebody else that is like doing a better job. I'm not going to roll the dice on a Manny Diaz, Matt Rule, or somebody who they've had their opportunities. Now, granted, maybe it wasn't at Penn State, but look.
And you've completely shut the door on James Franklin to Florida, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And he did get to the semifinals last year, and
No,
that was his
I
best
think he's
year.
done a great job.
That was his best year. But
that by him losing those two games, obviously those were just I can't even comprehend how you lost those games. But he's done a really good job at Penn State. What in the hell are they thinking?
Well, again, the reason I already told you why they fired him, but the QB, here's Barone. I know the 07, 08 team, 06 teams all won that and all this. Barone, I'm talking about in today's world. I don't think Urban wins, and I don't think he would.
Well, he wouldn't be able to do all
no.
the mat drills, the fighting each other, and all that.
It's just
toughness. Kids wouldn't put up with that.
It's a different world today, QB. If it's a different,
they're making more money. They're making way too much money.
Well, whatever it is, that you have to adapt in the environment you're in, and I just don't think he would be able to do that. I don't think Billy Naper's done a good job of that, and I don't think Urban Meyer would do a good job of that. The record is what it is.
Text on the Titan More text line from William. He says, Shane, I listened to the broadcast. Y'all did a great job. I was cracking up at your comments about the birds flying lower than you were sitting. It's a fact. That damn press box is so high. There were birds flying underneath us.
What's higher, LSU or Texas A&M?
Oh, A&M is way higher.
Way higher.
I mean, it ain't even close.
Well, Texas A&M's the side, the upper deck up there. LSU at the. You're not telling me that's as high? No.
Well, they don't have the press box at the top at LSU. It's like mid section.
Wow.
Kind of how it is at the Swamp.
Okay.
But the press box is at the top of the damn stadium, and it sways when they do they lock arms and they do their whatever that thing is.
Did you get
the stadium? I mean, the press box moves.
We'll see how they do on the road, man. I'm not ready to crown Texas A&M.
I tell you what, that Marcel Reed is a very improved football player, throwing the football.
Mike Elko knows what he's doing, QB.
No, I know he does. I think he's a very good coach. I think what they do defensively is fascinating.
I mean, it's amazing to me that they had to pay $77 million to get rid of their coach and bring in a new coach, but they're winning games and nobody cares about that buyout. So,
hey, trust me, that school,
they don't care.
Give a damn about
they
money. It comes out of the sewers on campus. $100 bills are just flying everywhere. They got so much damn money there. It's crazy.
Between them, Texas and Texas Tech, I don't think there's three.
I tell you, it is amazing. I know they haven't won anything. You always talk about that, but their facilities are just unfreaking believable.
And they're redoing their baseball field, I think.
You should see their track, JC.
Oh, my God. Well, you can do this with land.
I think their track is probably better than Oregon's.
Land and money, baby. Land and money. We don't have that here.
No.
We have money, but we don't have
land. We have zero land.
Zero land.
They got land for miles.
And if you look for land, you might end up in a sinkhole.
Andy's question on Facebook Live brought to you by Mel Law. Why did we kill so much time prior to halftime running motion on airplay? I kind of lost it on the air. So most 2-minute drives in that type of situation, you line up in one formation and you go. And if the ball is outside the right hash, nobody flips sides. You just stay on what, that's why like in most offenses I was in, you want your players to understand the concepts of the plays. Doesn't matter what position, whether you're the X, Y, Z, B, or whatever, the slot receiver, whatever they determine it, whatever he's called. They need to understand the concept because then you can play other positions. We're not like that for whatever reason. But yeah, and we wasted way too much time. I lost it on the radio a little bit.
QB, it's okay. You went 5-5. I went 5-5 on our roster picks on Friday, Peachland Dental. Some of your better picks, I think, were taking Arkansas in the points and Indiana in the points. That was good. Some of my better ones, I think Ohio State was a clear, easy one. Laying 2.5 touchdowns is tough to do.
I think they're clearly the best team in America, and I think Alabama's number 2.
And I had Washington State also in that game.
Jerry says, nice pick on North Texas. Look, I came back from dinner. North Texas is up 14 points.
They turned the ball
I went
over
and saw
5
some
times.
people in the lobby and went up to my room.
Yeah,
and then they were down 28. I was like, they turned it over a bunch, is what I heard.
They turned it over a lot. Turned it over a lot, and I was happy with really very little, but I think that I think Indiana is going to be the story that we talk about at least until the end of the year. They don't play.
Do they play Ohio State?
Yeah, that's what I don't think happens. And so that Big 18 conference is tough to figure out. It really
Maury
is.
says on Facebook Live, just get Lane and let's be done with all this foolishness.
Well, if
That's
he
the
wants to
plan.
come, hopefully, like you said,
Here's what I want to say too,
out.
because a bunch of people were talking about why haven't we fired Billy? We will. I don't know when it's going to happen. It doesn't really matter. I know it matters because, as you said, JC, I understand, does the team play different or whatever? I get it. But you're going to have a new coach, all right? You're going to have a new coach. And by firing him now, it does not put you in a better place to hire a coach, right?
Yeah.
Just because Penn State,
know.
let's just say,
UCLA and Penn State.
let's say, for example, there's a bunch of people that have fired their coaches. UCLA, Virginia Tech, UAB fired Trent Dilfer. Not that any of these candidates are going to go there, but but what I'm saying is, so there's like 8 schools, I think, 7 or 8.
Okay.
It's not like those schools have jumped in line with the better candidates than we have because we have not fired a coach, right?
Right.
There's so many talks and stuff that go on behind the scenes. And again, I've said it a million times, and I'm going to stand by this, JC.
Okay.
I don't give a damn who is on our list or who we're talking to. I don't care if they play. When is the national title? January something?
Yeah.
Probably.
Right.
I don't care if they're coaching in that.
Huh?
Because if they're coaching in that, we've already worked something out, right?
Right.
That coach ain't going to decide after the national title game where he's going to go coach the next year. So I don't care about recruiting. I don't care about the portal. You have to hire the right guy that you think can win for the next 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter when you hire them.
And that's why they have these crazy contracts. But QB, what is the easier job and what is the better job? Penn State or Florida?
I think the easier job is Penn State. The better job, I think, is Florida, though.
Okay.
I think I think Brian Kelly kind of showed that, right? Leaving Notre Dame. I think people prefer
he left
coaching the Southeastern Conference.
Well, he left Notre Dame because he said he wanted the athletes that he could get down south. It's turned out to be just.
Well, he's got great athletes, but I thought he had good athletes. I mean, good athletes go to Notre Dame.
Well, I think but the eye opener for him was the Orange Bowl when they played Alabama and lost the national title.
Well, yeah, but how long ago was that?
2014 or 2012? 10 years.
So that's 13 years ago.
Yeah, 13 years ago. That's why I'm saying Urban right now is not the answer, folks. The answer lies out there somewhere with a young guy who knows how to score points and get the ball in the end zone. That's the way I look at it. I mean, look at
Tony asked on YouTube right by Clark, does Shane drink Jack Daniels in the booth like Major League Baseball? Nope. I probably should. I may start. I'm gonna get a sponsor. Woodford Reserve coming to you live from the Gator Radio Network booth.
Man, yeah. So tell me real quick before we bring in Mike, because we definitely want to hear from what Mike has to say. But homecoming, Friday's off.
Are you going to be in the Gator Gallop,
I'm
JC?
actually coming to this game. I'm going to be on the 5th floor. No, I won't be doing that, but I have before. I've also been to the parade before. But the game with Mississippi State is a special game because it's the next game. But homecoming is always important. Do you think you'll see the same type of environment for this that you saw for the Texas game?
No.
No. Okay. Is that because it's Mississippi State or because they just lost to A&M?
They lost there in 2-4.
Well, they were.
I think it's going to be one of those games where people are going to be able to go online, buy cheaper tickets, and bring the kids if they want to.
Oh, gee. Okay.
That's my guess. I could be wrong because the fan base has been outstanding through all this.
The fan base has been tremendous.
Yeah. Now again, it's homecoming, so it may be a good crowd because I think a lot of people around America that
that's just
they look at homecoming to come back because a lot of fraternities and sororities they do the whole
right. It's not just Mississippi State; it's the homecoming weekend. They shut down the town. I'm going to play golf on Friday. I mean, it's going to be a great week. Let's hope the weather holds up. It will, I think. So, all right. Well, Tonight we've got two games real quick, QB. You want to pick them before you bring on Mike? In the NFL.
I gotta send this to Mike real quick. Mike must delete emails and text.
Does he not answer you, QB?
No, he always needs the stuff to log into. It's the same it's the same.
I got Josh Allen going crazy tonight in Atlanta. I think Buffalo's going to play with a real purpose. I think they beat the Falcons. They'll cover the 3.5. And I like Washington with Jaden Daniels coming back against the Bears.
Why are they having 2 Monday night games again?
They've kind of been doing this. It's a trendy thing. I don't know. I think it just gives the ABC more options for people to watch football on Monday night. But you're right. They've been doing it a lot. These teams that go to England too, man, they play differently. Denver yesterday with the Jets was one of the worst football games you'll ever see in your life. But Buffalo and Atlanta, 3.5. I got the Bills. You got the Bills or the Falcons?
I love the Bills anytime.
Yeah, and then the Bears are catching 5.5 from Washington.
I'll take the Redskins.
Okay. Gotcha.
This Facebook Live brought to you by Mel Law says, Shane, would you rather have a defensive-minded head coach or offense? We ain't
offense.
Have to go defense.
Yes, offense.
The 3 guys I told you are all offense.
That's right.
All right, JC.
All right, bro.
Have a good day. That's
all
Jason Joins on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, Electronics World, integration and design specialist for smart home automation and entertainment. It's Gator season, y'all. Let Electronics World bring the Florida Gators college football and the NFL to your living room. Check them out, electronicsworld.net. Quick timeout. Come back. We'll be joined by Mike Morgan. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union,
International Diamond Center,
Meldon Law, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Sign, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Coach, it always impressed me how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 national championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave Los Linderos tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean head beer coach, 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Linderos tequila, smooth enough to drink neat and bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Linderos tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Linderos.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
What's up, everyone? I'm Mike Pouncey, and this is my twin brother Marquise Pouncey, and this is Life After Football. Let's go. We are the owners of Tropical Distillery, and and JF Hayden's is our liqueur brand. We have 5 different flavors: a mango, a lychee, an espresso, citrus, and key lime pie. We pride ourselves on not only being a Florida-made brand, but also a cocktail solution. With that being said, cheers and go Gators.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. Gallo Car Wash is locally owned by UF alum and the only car wash that provides NIL opportunities to Gator athletes. Locations on Northwest 13th Street, Wilson Road, and coming soon to Jonesville. Back to the Titan More Highline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. We're joined by Mike Morgan, who was on the call of Oklahoma and Texas. Good morning, Mike. How you doing, bud?
Shane, I'm great. Getting revved up and getting ready to go. You know, some of us, we don't get those fancy schmancy charter flights gallivanting around the country with masseuses rubbing your feet to and from and catered meals. We got to fly commercial the day after a game and wait on delays and get on connecting flights. But no, it's all good. Dallas and my first ever Red River rivalry behind the mic or in person. It was always on the bucket list, and it did not fail. It's just a unique thing. The only other thing close to it, I think, is Florida, Georgia, really, when you think about it. But, you know, in this case, you've got 92,000 people, and you've got a state fairgrounds, which has like 300,000 people. And thanks to my analyst, Brian Baldinger, I don't know how he pulled this off, but we got a police escort behind the Texas buses to and from the stadium from the hotel, which was pretty awesome. That probably cut about an hour and a half of traffic. And it's awesome. You got one half Oklahoma, you got one half Texas, very similar to Florida, Georgia. And, you know, right now, of course, both those programs were going in different directions, but Texas came to play, and everything you've said about Arch Manning on this show is 100% accurate. Like, people that have been dogging that kid, if you don't realize it now, he's going to be very good. He's going to have another year of college ball. He's not the problem. The problem was their offensive line, but the offensive line held up. I mean, all we kept hearing about was just how dominating Oklahoma's defense was, but honestly, they didn't look dominating. And to me, that was even the bigger story than Mateer, who clearly was off, who clearly looked rusty and made some bad throws. But I thought Texas on the line of scrimmage was the story. They're not dead and buried yet. Texas is still going to win some games, and Oklahoma is going to have to do a little bit of a recheck and figure out just how good they are this week at South Carolina.
Yeah, you know, you and I were talking that you're Brian Baldinger, who knows football. He didn't think Texas had a chance either with the O-line play from what he saw on tape, right?
No, I mean, you know, that's his thing. He does a thing on social media, Baldy's breakdowns. He played O-line. He actually, Spurrier was his OC at Duke way back in the day. That's where Baldy played. So he knows the old ball coach pretty well. But he's looking at it and he's like, Mike, this Texas offensive line is just garbage. Like, they're just terrible. They don't know what they're doing. Now, they made some changes. They altered some things around a little bit, and they obviously they changed a little bit how they were, what they were doing schematically, and they just held up better. I mean, it's not like they mauled Oklahoma. You're not mauling Oklahoma. Oklahoma's got dudes, but they held up. You know, well, the best they could hope for in many cases was a stalemate, and I think they had that and then some. So if you just fix that, they're good enough in other phases, and their defense came to play. And Mateer, look, I don't know if the hand was bothering him as much as the rust, you know, 3 weeks of not playing ball. He had throws that were just off target, balls that he did not miss. And we talked to him before the game down on the field, and he was confident, and he said, I wasn't going to miss this game, and said all the right things and threw a pretty ball in warmups. But then all of a sudden the game came, and everything was just a little bit off, and Texas took advantage to the tune of 3 interceptions.
Yeah, his accuracy from the clips that I saw on part of the game up in the press box I was watching, his accuracy looked way off. And but give Texas credit, man. I didn't think they had any chance of winning that game. Mike, I want to get your thoughts. Obviously, Penn State. I mean, they had 2 horrible losses. You cannot lose to UCLA and Northwestern. But
no,
I mean, do you fire James Franklin? I mean, who are you going to hire that's better than James Franklin, in your opinion?
Well, I heard you and JC chopping it up, and you both make great points. I think it just comes down to this for Penn State and Franklin, because you could look at Franklin and the winning percentage and the recruiting rankings, and man, they were in the playoff last year. I mean, this is somewhat of a historical firing when you consider all those things. But I just think it came down to two things. Number one, the 5-21 against top 10 opponents, and that includes something like 1-9 against Ohio State. I mean, they just could not beat Ohio State, Michigan, and Oregon on any regular basis under James. And then, okay, maybe that's what you got to live with. Maybe you have to live with James is going to do a lot of good things for your program. You're going to win a lot of games. You're just not going to beat the big boys as much as you want or as much as you should, but you can't fire a man over that. But the moment you go back to back, UCLA, which was one of the most stunning and embarrassing losses of the season, and then you follow it up with a home loss to Northwestern, I'm telling you, there's a shot on YouTube of Franklin after that game standing around. I don't know if they do some like alma mater thing where you got to sing and do some, funky hand gesture, like so many schools do now. But he's just standing there and he's gawking into the abyss. And James Franklin knows I'm dead man walking. I'm telling you right now, he knew he was gone. You cannot lose those two games back to back and couple it with your overall kind of on your tombstone for Penn State is going to be won a lot of games, couldn't win the big one. Well, now it's won a lot of games, couldn't win the big one, and then had two back-to-back embarrassing losses for a team that many people, including myself, thought had a chance to compete for a national championship. That combination did them in, and everything you guys said might be right. Who are you going to get better? What's the next hire? I don't know, but there comes a point of no return, and I mean, Gator fans are certainly at this point. We'll worry about that tomorrow. But for today, you got to fire the guy who's not getting it done. That's how Penn State fell on James Franklin. That's how Florida fans are already there and then some with Billy Napier. I mean, even if you don't get Lane Kiffin, even if you don't get Eli Drinkwitz, fans want Billy gone, period. And they're not going to accept anything less than that by the end of this season. I think that's where Penn State reached, fairly or unfairly. He certainly has a high winning percentage, but I think the feeling there is there's so many resources at Penn State. You just got to do better. And if you find the right guy, you will do better.
Yeah. Your thoughts on Oregon getting beat at home by Indiana?
We do our own little picks contest on another show I'm on, and I picked Indiana to cover because I'm a believer in Cignetti. I really am. I don't know what it is that dude does that is so unique. I don't know if it's a scheme. I don't know if it's a belief, but here's what I do know. He took over one of the worst programs. I mean, that was one of the worst Power 4 jobs in college football. Nobody could win in Bloomington, Indiana. And he's going to make a playoff in back-to-back years with two different portal quarterbacks. I think it's one of the best coaching jobs we've seen in the last 30 years. I really do. People talk about his age. He's in his early 60s. That's why he's not a prime candidate for other jobs. To me, older is better in many cases. I don't need the hotshot 30-something-year-old that hadn't been there, done that. I need a guy who's won at other jobs like James Madison, where, excuse me, you don't necessarily associate that with having a ton of talent or being a great coaching job, and yet he goes there and he wins and he gets a job at Indiana. And I don't know if there's a person on the planet that got excited about that hire. It's like, oh yeah, Cignetti took the IU job. What's the next story of the day in college football? But he's done just fascinating work, and it's smoke and mirrors to me, Shane. I don't pretend to know, what the average amount of stars are on the Indiana recruits. I just know he does more with less, more than any other coach in college football.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. He's done a tremendous job. It'd be interesting to see what happens with him moving forward, who all comes after him. Let's go around the league. Alabama, I think, is playing as well as anybody in the SEC, maybe the nation. I don't know how much you got to see of that game against Missouri. I thought they kind of controlled the game, but Missouri just kind of hung in there.
Yeah, look, my opinion of Missouri actually was only enhanced even in a loss. because we all now are back high on Alabama, aren't we? Like, we all realize
Yes.
they got themselves a quarterback, and they've got talent all over the place. Take the Florida State game out, call that what you will. Alabama's damn good. They're playoff good. And I think a lot of people looked at that game and said, yeah, Missouri, nice story, but they're about to get smoked by Bama. And they didn't. That's a one-possession game, and they're marching down the field. Prbula throws the pick to end it. But I've got Missouri-Auburn this weekend, and I tell you right now, I mean, I'm high on Mizzou. They have shown me plenty. I think that game was a validation loss, if there is such a thing, because they took Alabama down to the wire. And if you can do that, you can play with anybody in this league. So good win for Alabama on the road. But I think Missouri actually showed you something in a loss.
Speaking of Auburn, your thoughts on that goal line quarterback sneak?
Ugh.
I mean, they made the wrong call.
Yeah, they made the wrong call. And I correct me if I'm wrong, because that game's going simultaneous to ours, or when that play happened anyway. I think we were in the fourth quarter or something like that. Did they not originally call it a touchdown on the field?
I think
Am I wrong on that?
I think they did call it a touchdown.
So they literally went to review and took a touchdown off the board.
Well, I shouldn't say that.
It
was during our game too, so I don't know if they called it a touchdown or they called it a stop.
Somebody in your chat box. Tell us. Yeah, tell us what that was called. Because if that was called a touchdown originally, and then they overturned it based on that video, that's insanity to me. Now, if they didn't call it a touchdown, and then you can always kind of cop out and say, well, we don't have indisputable video evidence, which I think you did, and so therefore we had to keep the call on the field and keep it a touchdown. Auburn can't buy a break. They just can't. And you can't tell me that call doesn't make – I get it. There's still 30 minutes of football. But that would have been Auburn 17-0 at that point. That is a major, major call. The whole thing with did Kirby call a timeout or not, that's getting a lot of play. Look, I don't know if he does get the timeout, it's a timeout. I don't know if that's as big a deal as everybody is making it. I think people at that point are just pissed off. They think Kirby was kind of skirting the rules a little bit. But the bigger call and much more consequential is taking a touchdown off the board that would have made it 17-0. I don't see how you don't call that a touchdown based on what you had.
Yeah, it was called, a lot of people chimed in, it was called a fumble initially.
So, okay, well, that makes it less egregious, okay? I mean, and a lot of times what they'll do, Shane, is if there's any doubt, the officials don't call it a touchdown, just like they don't blow the whistle if there's any chance of it being a legitimate fumble, because if you call it a touchdown, then you negate the return, right? So they call it a fumble, and then I think they actually stop the return anyway. There was a lot of madness on that play. But a lot of times officials are kind of taught that if you're not 100% sure, let it play out so you can let the return go and then figure it out on replay. But the replay, to me, it looked pretty clear. The ball, 1 millimeter of that ball has to cross the plane. And it surely looks like that ball crossed the plane. And Auburn got hosed out of a touchdown that would have made it 17-0.
Yeah, and the SEC crews had a bad week because we had a deep ball thrown to Verno Brown III that clearly bounced off the ground, and they gave him the catch after the review. And I was like,
oh, wow.
We were blown away. It was actually a big play in the game, too, early. Real quick, Rod says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, Lane hasn't won anything. He lost to the coach we have now, so what does that tell you? It tells me nothing. I don't care who he lost to. I don't understand why people compare game to game, like coaching matchups. That has no bearing on whether I want to coach or not.
Right. No, I mean, I don't know what the point is. Does anybody on the planet want to make an argument that Billy Napier's done a better job than Lane Kiffin? Good luck with that. It's not even close. Does anybody want to argue that Florida is a better job with better resources than Ole Miss? Because it is, always has been, always will be. If Lane had the resources that the University of Florida has, there's no question in my mind this program wouldn't be 2 games under 500. No question. Lane is doing it with smoke and mirrors at Ole Miss. You look at what Ole Miss was before he got there, and you watch what Ole Miss is after he leaves. And let me tell you something. I know several Ole Miss fans, and I know you grew up an Ole Miss fan. Ole Miss fans know what they've got. And they know, and they're nervous as hell that Florida is going to come knocking, if they already haven't behind closed doors, and take away their coach that's clearly a game changer, because it's not easy to win the way they're doing it in Oxford. So if you want to pinpoint one game last year in the Swamp where Florida outplayed Ole Miss, and kudos to Billy and the boys for getting that win, that was great. But there's no argument on the planet that says Billy Napier has done a better job than Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. That's not even a conversation.
Yeah, a couple people chimed in here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law. Spurrier lost to Mike DeBose twice in one season, which is in the Hall of Fame.
That's right.
Also said that he lost to Terry Bowden twice. So, yeah.
Terry Bowden back-to-back, Jackie Sherrill in 92 at Mississippi State. Everybody's got quote-unquote bad losses.
Yeah.
But losing at the Swamp last year against Florida, that's not a bad loss. That's a tough loss. It's not a bad loss.
Yeah. Joseph's question on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law, says, QB, how can an offsides penalty offset a holding call, especially when the guy was holding the dude that jumped offsides? That's a great question. It happened in our game. They had Austin Barber, the defensive end he was blocking, jumped offsides, and then he ended up holding him, so we had offsetting penalties. I feel like when you jump offsides, it should be a free play no matter what, but it's just the rule.
That's just is what it is. If you've got one on each side, it's just offsetting.
All right, before we get you out our text on the Titan Mar text line from Larry. Larry wants to know, Mike, who are you hearing that the potential candidates for the Florida job? Probably the same guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't have inside information on that. I think it's abundantly clear, like this is the worst kept secret, right? That certainly there is a huge contingent of people that have a voice in the room that want Lane Kiffin. Now, is it unanimous? It rarely is. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's somebody out there that's not on Team Lane. But I think it's pretty clear that that's the number one choice. And then there's a drop off, and then we can debate about who's number 2. Then it gets really squirrely, and then, what I think every Florida fan is nervous about, Shane, deep down, is that if you don't get your number 1 and your number 2, and this happens a lot, I talk about it all the time on JC and Morgan, the podcast, that every school wants to believe that they are the shiny university on the top of the hill that's the best job on the planet. But the fact of the matter is, it's just like you guys were talking about Cignetti at Indiana. Don't be surprised if he gets offered the Penn State job and declines it and says, no, I'm good. They pay me well. They love me where I'm at. Why do I need to rock the apple cart? Life is good in Bloomington. Well, that could conceivably happen with Lane, and it could conceivably happen with, let's just say hypothetically, Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri, who also grew up a fan of Steve Spurrier, and that's why he wears a visor. He's told me that specifically. So if you swing and miss on your first couple of guys, now you're right back where you've got to go into a pool of candidates that you just don't know what you're getting. And that hasn't worked out real well for Florida. It just hasn't. Florida has hired guys. There's nothing wrong on paper with the Billy Napier hire. There's a lot of schools that wanted Billy Napier. There's a lot of schools that wanted Will Muschamp. Jim McElwain was a hot name for a while. And Dan Mullen made all the sense in the world. These were not like stupid hires. These were hires that did not work. And if you're a Florida fan, you do have to be the least bit nervous about the fact that there's the potential there, if you don't get your top choice, that maybe you have to go back into that well. And when you go back into that well, there's a bit of risk. There's no sure thing. It is a gamble. And lately, if this was a craps table in Vegas, Florida has gone to that table and lost all their chips. It just hasn't been working. So these are the concerns of a lot of programs that, yeah, you want to fire your coach, but there's no guarantee that what you get on the other side is going to be better. And so that's always a concern out there. I don't think it matters any right now for most Florida fans because they've had it. They're just ready to make a change. They've been there. I can't see a scenario with the rest of that schedule that this thing does such a dramatic turnaround that all of a sudden every Florida fan's like, get them a contract extension. This is great. Probably not going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, where do you go if you don't get your top choice? So it's going to be fascinating, Shane. And, you look around now, Penn State open, Arkansas open. I don't think we're done. I think there's still another big-time job or two that's going to open up, maybe even in the SEC.
Auburn.
So it's going to be a lot of – yeah. I mean, like I said, I've got Auburn, Missouri this week. If Auburn loses another home game and drops to 0-4 in the league, you don't think they're going to be calling for Hugh Freeze's head. So now you've got ADs calling up the same coaching candidates for different jobs. Now it becomes a real a race for gold. The gold rush is on, and everybody's going after the same coaches. And I don't think Lane leaves for any place but Florida. But still, I think it's going to be fascinating. These next few weeks in college football, not just on the field, but all the drama going on off the field is going to be fascinating.
It is. Mike, good stuff as always. Appreciate your time. We'll talk to you next Monday, my man.
Look forward to it, Shane. Thank you much.
That's Mike Morgan. Join us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Town. Injuries occur whenever and however, and it's never convenient. Sprains, strains, and minor fractures. UF Health Orthocare makes it convenient for you 7 days a week, including evenings. Walk-ins are welcome. Give them a call. UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. That's going to do it. Thanks to JC and Mike Morgan for joining us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Town. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.